So I'm really sorry to start off this video being a Debbie Downer and all, but unfortunately once we reach a certain age, some of us will lose a lot more hair than others based on our genetic makeup, and unfortunately there's not that much we can do about it. The problem with genetic hair loss is that usually the hair that you will lose will never grow back in its place. Your hair cells are just not able to produce more hair, and basically all the hair that you have up to a certain point in your life is all the hair that you're gonna have. So your best bet is to preserve the hair that you already have to prevent as much hair loss as possible. This means no frequent washing, no bleaching, no chemical perms, nothing that is going to weaken your hair and cause it to fall out. Basically, anything that will make your hair weaker is a big no-no. So if you live in a big city such as Toronto or Manhattan, where it can be very congested and there can be a lot of pollution in the air, your hair can take a big hit. Your hair needs to breathe, and good clean oxygen is key. Pollution in the air can clog your hair follicles, starving them of nutrition and oxygen and causing your hair to fall out. So I understand that it's not exactly an option for many of us to just get up, pack up, and leave our big city just for this reason alone. But there are some things that you can do to help mitigate the situation. One of the things you can do is wear a hat when you go outside to prevent any pollution clogging your hair follicles. Or if you're not a hat person, you can massage a scalp cleansing serum into your hair that's going to break up any dirt and build up and make sure that your scalp is cleansed and purified. One of my favorite go-to cleansers is aloe vera gel. It's a natural dirt and builds up that you have in your scalp so your scalp can breathe. It's a fact that warmer weather increases blood circulation to the scalp and increases the production of all of those necessary oils that you need for healthy hair. So having said that, it's not a surprise that people who live in colder climates experience a slower rate of hair growth than people who live in warmer climates. And because of the lack of oil production, people who live in colder climates also experience more hair fallout. So for all of you who live in a cooler climate, what I would recommend is increasing the circulation to your scalp. And one of the ways you can do this is using the inversion method. So this is a method that you can easily do at home or in the office. So basically all you want to do is flip your head upside down in sitting or standing position, and then use your finger pads to massage your scalp for a good 1 to 5 minutes. Do this 2 to 3 times a week and you'll see a huge improvement in the circulation of your scalp and the overall oil production of your scalp. Your hair will be healthier and will be growing faster. Ladies, I truly feel for you all. There's not one woman that I know that does not experience monthly hair loss due to hormonal fluctuations. Aren't we so lucky? The reason for this is because we lose a ton of iron during this time of the month, which is an essential nutrient for healthy hair. So to prevent too much iron loss during this time, I would recommend taking a really high quality multivitamin on a daily basis, so not just during that time of the month, and a really high quality organic iron supplement. I personally really love the Mega Food brand. I use their multi-daily vitamin, and I also use their blood builder supplements that have a lot of iron in there. I'm not sponsored by Mega Food. Before you guys jump to any conclusions, I've actually been using their products for many years now, and they're by far my most favorite supplement brand. So I'm sure that most of you know this, but your hair is made up of a protein called keratin, which is synthesized through the protein that you eat. So basically, your hair needs protein to grow really strong and healthy. If you're not consuming enough protein in your diet, it could cause your hair to fall out. Starchy foods such as bread, pasta, cereal, and other starchy processed foods usually are very, very low in protein. These same foods also tend to be very, very high on the glycemic index, so it can spike your insulin levels. And this combination is really, really bad for your hair. So to make sure your hair is growing long, strong, and healthy, I would recommend eating 3 ounces of high quality lean protein such as chicken, turkey, fish, eggs, lentils 2 to 3 times a day. So in order for all of the cells in your body, including your hair cells, to work and function properly, you need ample amounts of water. Water is essential for carrying nutrients throughout the body. And if you're dehydrated, the least important cells in the body, such as your hair cells, your nail cells, and your skin cells, are usually the first to suffer. So if you want healthy, strong hair that doesn't fall out, drink 1 to 2 liters of water every single day and make sure that you spread it out throughout the day. Chances are your diet is not abnormally high in vitamin A, but if you are taking a vitamin A supplement or a multivitamin that contains high doses of vitamin A, you might be taking too much of a good thing. So although vitamin A in small doses is generally good for your overall health, the same vitamin in high doses can be very toxic to your hair follicles. A high dose of vitamin A will shrink your oil glands to the point that they are no longer producing the amount of oil necessary to nourish your hair strands, causing them to fall out. So again, if you're taking a bunch of different vitamins and supplements, you may want to consult your doctor first just to make sure that your vitamin A levels are within a safe stress. Oh, how I love this wound. It pops up at the worst of times and lingers around like a blood-sucking leech. I apologize for going off on a tangent there, but I really, really dislike it. And all of the wonderful things that come with it. Okay guys, so let's get real. We've all experienced stress at one point or another, and in fact, some of you may be under stress right now. Although a little bit of stress is actually good for us because it can keep us sharp and on our toes. If it gets out of hand, it could be a big problem. Being under enormous amounts of stress for a very, very long time can be very detrimental to our health. Science says that severe amounts of stress can actually shut down a bunch of systems in our body. And guess which ones get shut down first? Yeah, the least important ones, which includes our hair cells. I don't want to sound vain or anything because of course your health is the #1 priority, but you have to understand that everything in your body is interconnected. So if your hair is suffering or your nails are suffering, there's something more major going on and you have to address it. So I know that it's not always easy to manage your stress, but you have to train yourself. Take a deep breath, count to 10, meditate, do whatever you need to do to get yourself to a happy, calm place. And remember, everyone has stress. Maybe it's really, really bad if you don't make that deadline or you don't answer all of those questions on your exam. But what is even worse is the effects that stress has on your body. You only have one body. This is the body that you're going to have for your entire life. Your body restores and regenerates millions and millions and millions of different cells in your body as you sleep. This is considered your body's resting phase. You need to sleep to survive and thrive. So if you're getting poor quality sleep or you're not sleeping enough, your body will not be able to function properly and your hair will suffer too. So washing your hair may sound harmless, but as the old saying goes, there is such thing as too much of a good thing. When your hair is wet, it does a couple things that you don't realize. So the first thing that happens is that your hair becomes really, really heavy and it starts to tug at your roots. This can cause your hair follicles to weaken over time. Haven't you noticed that after you take a shower, you lose a lot more hair in the shower than you do when your hair is dry? That's the reason. The second thing that happens is that your hair can stretch up to 30% of its natural hair length. And when that happens, you're essentially stretching all of the keratin bonds in your hair, and your hair is very vulnerable to breakage. Not only does it stretch out at the strands, but it also stretches out at the hair follicle. So the hair follicle also weakens and is a lot more susceptible to falling out. So to save your hair while it is wet and to prevent as much hair loss as possible, never, ever, ever, ever brush your hair while it's wet. Brushing your hair when it's wet is just going to pull on the hair strands more and just pull them right out. Just like washing your hair too frequently can be problematic, not washing your hair enough can also be a bad thing. I know there are some ladies out there that think it's better not to wash your hair for long periods of time. I'm talking about more than 7 days, which I really hope none of you do, but if you do, I ain't judging. After all those amazing natural oils are good for your hair, right? So the more the better. Not exactly. If you go too long without washing your hair, what happens is all of your hair shafts get really clogged up with all this dirt and excess oil, and none of the nutrients from your hair shafts can get to your hair follicles. So basically you're starving your hair strands, causing them to fall out. So what you want to do is find that magic sweet spot. So this is what I find helps the most. If your hair is fine and thin, you're going to have to wash your hair a little bit more frequently just because all that oil gets distributed through your hair much faster. So if your hair is fine or thin, I would say wash your hair every 2 to 3 days. If your hair is on the drier side and it's super thick and coarse, you could probably go 5 to 7 days without washing your hair, but not any longer than that. Never, ever, ever go longer than 7 days. If you find that you can't wash your hair every 2-3 days and you want to go a little bit longer, again, you can use a scalp purifying serum or a natural scalp purifier such as aloe vera gel. It works amazing and will allow you to extend time in between washes. There are so many fascinating things that happen to your body while you are pregnant. After all, you're carrying a little human inside of you. To give a growing fetus the best chance of into your growing baby instead of going to nourish the lesser important cells in your body, such as your hair cells. Now, although this might not be true for all women, but there are some women out there that experience more hair loss than usual during pregnancy, and this is the reason. Luckily, this is only temporary and your hair should go back to normal after pregnancy. Some women not only experience abnormal hair loss during pregnancy, but they also experience abnormal hair loss after pregnancy. And the reason for that is very similar to the reasons of being pregnant. So basically, when you're breastfeeding your newborn baby, all those extra calories you're consuming are now going into your breast milk to nourish your baby. So instead of those extra calories going to your hair cells, your skin cells, your nail cells, they're all going to your baby. So again, this is another temporary thing that can cause your hair to fall out, but after you're done breastfeeding, your hair should go back to normal. So what I would recommend to any of you ladies who are expecting or just had a newborn baby and you're currently breastfeeding is to nourish your scalp from the outside as much as possible. This is assuming that you eat a very healthy diet and you're consuming enough calories to sustain yourself and your baby. So this extra step will just give your hair a little bit of a better shot of staying healthy and not falling out as much. So what you can do is massage a very nourishing scalp oil into your scalp to make sure that your hair remains nourished. I'm not pregnant nor am I breastfeeding, but I do love to nourish myself anyway because I'm trying to grow my hair longer. So the scalp oil that I've been loving is a scalp oil by Earth's Nectar, and I got it at Sephora, and it's the mint leaves scalp oil. It's super nourishing, and I find that it makes such a big difference in terms of keeping my hair healthy and strong and shiny, and I definitely notice that my hair doesn't fall out as much after I started using this stuff. Like I mentioned in this video, there are some things that cause our hair to fall out that we have absolutely no control over, and there's some things that we do have control over, and this is one of those things. Having your hair pulled back in a tight top knot or a tight ponytail all the time is so bad for your hair health. Having your hair pulled back constantly causes your hair follicles to weaken and eventually fall out of their shafts. So for those of you who absolutely must have your hair up and away from your face for whatever reason it may be, I would definitely suggest loose, messy buns over tight top knots. A few other tips that can help relieve the pulling are using a scrunchie instead of a super tight hair elastic, because this is much gentler on your hair and it's not going to pull your hair so much. And the second thing is, when you put your hair up into a messy bun, instead of using a tight hair elastic to make sure that your messy bun is secure, tie it loosely and then pin down any loose spots with some bobby pins. Okay guys, be honest, how many of you guys are guilty of So a little story here. I have a friend that does this all the time. She's been doing it since elementary school and she does it unconsciously. She used to do it out of anxiety, and it got to a point where she started doing it all the time. And what it started to do was make her hair in the back so thin in comparison to the rest of her hair, and overall her hair looked very unhealthy. And she's not the only one. A lot of the times I'm out and I see other people doing this, and they're doing it completely unconscious. They don't realize that they're doing it, but they are. So what this does is basically pull on your hair strands. Again, you're weakening your hair follicles, and they're going to start to fall out of the hair shafts. So if you know that you do this, try to catch yourself in the act whenever you do, and tell your friends about it. Tell them, hey, next time you see me doing this and twisting my hair and pulling the hair out of my head, tell me about it. I'm sure they would be happy to help you out. Now, this is one thing that a lot of people don't realize has an effect on your hair health, but it does. If you've suffered from a severe trauma, such as being in a car accident or breaking a bone, this can impact the health of your hair and cause your hair to fall out. So in the case of a trauma, what happens is your body is forced into defense mode. All of its energy starts focusing on the problem at hand. So again, this is going to affect your lesser important bodily functions, such as your hair, so that your body can focus on healing itself. So this reason is similar to the point that I just talked about. So when you're sick, your body is using all of its energy to beat the illness that you're dealing with at the time, whether it's a cold or a flu or whatever it may be. So that means that all of your lesser important bodily functions take a back seat during this time until you recover 100%. Wait, what? Isn't fatty fish like salmon and tuna that's rich in omega-3s really good for your body and hair? Actually, yes. And no, let me explain. Some fish contain high levels of mercury, and high levels of mercury can cause your hair to fall out. Mercury actually disrupts protein development and affects your absorption of zinc, which is essential to carry keratin formation, the stuff that your hair is made of. All of this interferes with the growth process, and it can also cause your hair to fall out. But before you jump the gun, do not eliminate fish from your diet altogether. You just need to know which fish to eat, which fish to stay away from, and how to source it properly. So fish that contain the highest amounts of mercury tend to be the fish that are higher up on the food chain, those bigger fish. So fish like swordfish and mackerel are super high on the food chain and tend to have the highest amounts of mercury. So I would totally stay away from those regardless of how you source them. Tuna, salmon, and seafood are generally very safe to eat as long as they are wild caught. And make sure that you keep your fish and shellfish consumption under 12 ounces per week. So if you break it down, that's about 3 to 4 portions a week. Make sure you always source your fish and seafood from wild caught fisheries. And lastly, the safest fish to eat are the ones that are lower down on the food chain. So those smally itty bitty fish, sardines, anchovies, and seafood that have hard shells like crab, clams. Sugar is bad for your hair, it's bad for your skin. But what's more important is that your favorite processed sugars and sugary cupcakes and candies, they all cause a spike in your insulin levels. And a spike in insulin levels causes your androgen hormone levels to go up. Androgen is a male hormone, and it is known to irritate and shrink the hair follicles, causing them to fall out. So my suggestion is stay away from the processed sugars, and if you have a sweet tooth, go with Mother Nature's candy. Or as my grandpapa says, fructe. What? Aren't these great for detoxification and purification and blah blah-fication? No, not exactly. When you're on a juice cleanse, you are on a no protein, all sugar diet. Not to mention many of these juices have added sweeteners in them, spiking your insulin levels and making your androgen levels soar through the roof. And we all know what happens when our androgen levels soar through the roof. It leads to hair thinning and hair loss. All that sugar does is create a huge inflammation in your body, which isn't good for anything, your hair included. So just stick with water, people. Keep it simple. Your body regularly detoxifies itself, so no need to spend an arm and a leg on a juice cleanse because the only thing that it really cleanses is it's similar to pulling your hair back into tight top knots and tight ponytails all the time. Over-brushing or brushing your hair incorrectly can cause your hair to fall out. To minimize the pull and to minimize weakening your hair follicles, gently brush your hair from bottom to top to toe. And another tip is to grip your hair like this as you brush. When you grip your hair like this, you prevent your hairbrush from pulling on any of the hair follicles and causing your hair follicles to become weaker and fall out over time. So brushing your hair this way will prevent most of the pulling when you brush your hair. Okay, so I'm gonna get a little scientific on y'all because this one is really important. Okay. Our bodies use the calories and nutrients that we consume to regenerate all of the cells in our body. The thing is, our body is very smart. It prioritizes all of our vital cells over anything else. So all of the organs that we need for our survival, such as our brain, our heart, our lungs, our liver, our kidneys, etc., 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 these cells get priority over anything else. So if you're only eating enough to sustain your vital bodily functions, you're not going to have enough calories for your body to nourish your hair cells, your skin cells, and your nail cells. If your body is starving, essentially your hair is going to fall out. If you want healthy, strong hair that doesn't fall out as much, make sure that you're eating enough calories to sustain all of your vital organs and all of your lesser important bodily functions as well. So one other thing I really wanted to mention to you guys is even though you might be eating enough calories to sustain all of your bodily functions and a little bit extra for all of your not so important functions, if you're not eating the right type of foods or calories, your hair will still start to fall out. So if you tend to eat a lot of sugar, a lot of processed foods, these nutrients are not good for your hair. Like I said, your hair is made up of keratin, which is synthesized by protein. So if you want healthy, strong hair that doesn't fall out, make sure you eat a lot of protein, fruits, vegetables, and drink plenty of water. So how many of you switched when you saw the word coffee across the screen? Like many people, I love coffee. It is my one and only vice. The subject of coffee has been debated for years and years. One day it is good for you, one day it's bad for you. So what is the truth? What's the deal? The fact of the matter is, no matter how you slice it, caffeine is a drug. It affects the neurotransmitters in your brain and it temporarily makes you feel alert. The coffee bean in its purest form actually has a ton of medicinal benefits and it's very high in antioxidants. But after it's processed down in order for it to be drinkable, it loses a lot of these benefits and antioxidants. A cup of good green coffee, and I'm talking you consume too much coffee, what happens is you lose a lot of the nutrients that you consume through your diet in your urine. And we all know what happens to our hair when we don't have enough nutrients in our body. Our hair starts to suffer, it will starve, and it will fall out. For all you coffee drinkers out there, just know that 1 to 2 cups of coffee a day is probably harmless. It's not going to cause your hair to fall out, but anything more than that and you're playing